I have a question for you. Could you please share some ideas about how to distinguish the quality of clothes? For example, how do I recognize before buying that seams of a t-shirt will not twist? I've come across terms like single and double jersey, etc., or that the color will fade soon, or that the fabric will crease. I bought trousers that are 78% lyocell, 20% cotton, and 2% elastane, and after half a day of sitting in my chair in my office, it looks like I have pulled them out of a cow's mouth. That is a great description. So how do I recognize the quality before buying? First of all, hold it up and notice, does it even twist at all on the hanger? Because if it twists on the hanger, it's going to twist on your body. When we look at fabrics are woven or knitted with a kind of warp and a weft. So it has two ways. You want to see that, unless it's a bias cut garment, which means it's cut on the diagonal, and then it will actually kind of cling to your body. But for most things, they're cut on what we call the straight of grain. If the garment has not been cut on the straight of grain, so if it's slightly off, so when you're looking at a shirt or whatever, that the lines of the weaving or the knitting, you should see very like straight lines, and they should go down the garment. So if they're going off at an angle, that will twist. That will twist naturally. So it's looking at the quality of that. Look at the seams, look at the size of the stitches. If they use large stitching, it means it's going to unravel more quickly, versus smaller stitching will stay together more for longer. It's better quality. Then things like colours. So some fabrics will fade a bit faster. So it depends if the colours have really been set or not. But also, how do you do your washing? How you wash is really important, because if you wash in really hot water and put things in the dryer, they will fade, they will stretch out or shrink, and the fabrics will become more damaged more easily. If you use a cold wash, a gentle wash, hang to dry instead of putting in the tumble dryer, you'll actually find your clothes stay in shape and last a lot longer, and they will be less likely to fade. So these are things too. So if you're hanging things outside on the line in a bright sunshine, they will fade faster. If they're hanging, in a dark place, they will fade slower. So all these things come into the speed at which things will fade. Also, how you treat them. So be very aware that many fabrics do not like a hot wash, and they do not like the tumble dryer. And so this is where you can kind of damage them very easily. So you mentioned that you trousers with lyocell. So lyocell is a form of viscose. So viscose, rayon, lyocell, tencel, they're all a cellulose fiber. So they're an extruded fiber. So they, unlike cotton, where they kind of stretch the kind of fibers of cotton, or wool, which are kind of spun, these are, kind of cellulose fiber that they turn into a jelly, and then they somehow extrude a fiber from it. So it's a semi-synthetic. It's made from a natural material, but it's made in a synthetic way. Now, these are fine when they're dry, but when they are wet, they are actually very, they're quite, They're quite weak. They're quite fragile. You have to treat lyocell, viscose, rayon, tencel more carefully. Cooler washes, no tumble drying, because they get really damaged very easily in the wash. And so twisting, and if you squeeze to twist, that can also twist the garment up. So you want to be a bit careful about your washing techniques on these garments if you want them to last longer. So that's just something to be aware of. Also, lyocell and stuff, it does have a little bit of stretch in it as well. So when you have been sitting in it, so one of the things I notice with viscose is when you iron viscose, you can actually stretch it out, because sometimes it can shrink a bit in the wash, and then you iron it, stretch it out, and it stretches again. What your body is doing when you are sitting in those pants all day, your body is hot, it's warm, you're sitting in it, you're actually stretching the fibers, and that is why they have got so saggy baggy. So this is where you often want something that's got a bit more rigidity, say some cotton in there instead of just a viscose. Otherwise, it's not going to stretch out as much. So if you've got a cotton, like a woven cotton, along with that, it's going to hold a bit more of its shape. Also, how do you tell if something's going to crumple and crease? So before you buy it, before you even take it into the change room, go to the garment, grab it, squish the fabric. So squish the fabric, let it go, and see, does it end up in a crumpled mess, or does it does it kind of spring back? So if it ends up in a crumpled mess, then it's going to be crumpled as soon as you sit down in it. If it doesn't, then it's not going to be crumpled. And this is why you can do it to linen, you'll see it crumple. So just go through your wardrobe and have a look. So generally when we have a bit of something like polyester, the reason why they often put polyester in cotton shirts is that the polyester does not crumple, and it helps the cotton not to be so crumpled, because cotton will crumple easily. Linen will crumple very easily, and lyocell viscose crumples really easily, so you will look crumpled more easily. Now, I've just got a question come through. Can you recommend good types of irons, e.g. steam irons? I personally have a steam iron that, so it's an iron that has a big water canister, so you can use it as a steamer or you can use it as an iron. I think mine's a Breville. It works really well. You never have to set a temperature. You don't ever have to worry actually about burning anything, because it actually uses the steam rather than heat to do the ironing, to actually get rid of the creases. So I find that's pretty good. I had a Tefal one before that. That was also really good. Actually, mine might be a Philips. I think it might be a Philips. I can't quite remember. But it's a big canister iron. Look, I've had mine for years now and it's been great. So, and the Tefal one was great as well. But I really like a kind of an iron that's got a big water canister, so you can actually just, for some stuff, just steam it. Where there's a lot of things, like particularly my silk, I don't bother ironing it. I just have it on a hanger and then I just run the steam over the top. And also for wools and cashmeres and things, they get a bit crumpled up in the drawer. They don't need a lot for that to let go. So that would be my recommendation. But yeah, so just before you buy, do the scrunch test, and be aware of what fibers, kind of the qualities of different fibers and how they work. And if you're not sure, go online and just look up, because, I can tell you there's a world of information out there online about, different fibers and their qualities.